host, Vernita Williams, and you are on Smart Black Woman TV with NPNTv. Today, thank you, and I would like to say Happy Memorial Day to many of you in celebration. And I have a special guest that is coming on, and that special guest is my son, Charles. Charles has a story he'd like to tell, and we're going to bring him in so that he can tell his story. So, Charles, come on in.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Remember, heroes never die.
All right, Charles. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us today. As you said, you want to tell a story. So, we're here to, I'm here with Smart Black Woman TV on my show to bring you in as my special guest and my son. This is my son, Charles, my oldest son. He's here to tell this story. He's been wanting to tell this story for quite some time. Now is the time for his big debut. So we want to hear everything Charles got to say and the life that he's had, and also the struggles. And also I want to put out there, this is the ending month of health and awareness, mental health awareness, and kind of be kind of patient with me. This is one of my first shows, so it might be a little glitches here and there, but
Mine too.
get what we're saying. So, Charles, I want to start off with your story and your childhood. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. Charles was an only child up to age 13. So I'm gonna get him to start his timing about around after age 5. So, Charles, tell us a little bit about what you were experiencing during this age.
Well, my childhood was it was a great childhood. My father wasn't around as much as I would have liked him to be around, but he was there. He was present in my life. My mother was present in my life. I didn't want for much. I was a spoiled brat, when I tell you, I didn't want for anything. So when I think about the early years of my childhood, I was around my grandparents a lot. I was played with all my cousins. I was around the kids a lot. It was a childhood, especially at the age 5. When I think about as I got a little bit older, of course, I had different obstacles to face in my life. I dealt with just different things that children deal with, especially when their parents aren't around. I was bullied in school growing up. I wasn't the most popular kid, even though I was spoiled. I was spoiled by my parents and not by anyone else. Trust me.
How old were you, Charles, when you started to have more interaction with other kids and have, I guess, these emotions that come about, as young kids and what they go through in their younger years? So how old were you when you really started to realize that you were having these feelings of
Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. Give me 1 second. My grandmother's coming in the door. So you got the dog. You know how it goes. But yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead with that question. I apologize.
So as I was saying, I was asking the question, what age were you then? Tell us a little bit about, keep us on a timeline as to how old you were, and that age that you were going through these experiences.
Well, the key thing that I'd like to shine a little bit of light on, the experiences that I faced as a child. Were mainly, it was the thing of feeling like, yes, I wanted my father to be around, and he wasn't around as much as I would have liked him to be, as though I said earlier. But when your parents aren't around you, everything happens, especially when you're around cousins, your family, and that's when the real thing comes out. But I faced different things like sexual abuse. That was the biggest memory of my childhood life, my early pre-teenage years. Um, but I really didn't know how to get through it. I didn't say anything to anyone up until I was an adult in my 30s, you know. So I dealt with that internally, and I've always felt like it was something that I did to provoke that, and or also I felt like that's what helped shape the man that I am today.
Okay,
Um,
okay, Charles. Let me um come in, and I just want to have, I want to help people to understand where you were going when you say when your parents aren't around. So at the age when Charles was 5 years old, his dad and I separated, and we raised Charles as co-parents. And these times in which Charles saying there's no adult around, I would like for him to kind of elaborate on that when it say adults on around. Is this during summer months, or is this doing weekends, things like that, or is it that you were sent to your dad's house, or you were with friends around your mom's house and our house? Tell us a little bit about it so that we can kind of see that picture, as you two are trying to explain it to all us, and we would just want to follow you a little bit closer.
well, like you said, I was raised with a single mother, so during the weekends, those were times where it was just my mother and I, you and I, mom, and I really didn't have much time with my cousins except during the summertime or during summer vacation when all of the cousins would get together and we would all go to one family member house and pretty much spend the summer days there. And it was somewhat of a daycare, but we were kind of like taking care of ourselves. And you know how back in the days that when I say back in the days, I mean paper food stamp back in the days. You know, my aunt would give us a paper food stamp, and we would head down to Pete's old store down at the corner. You know, if you're from St. Louis, you know about Pete's, but but we used to head down there and get candy and snacks and things like that. So these were the back the old days, the good old days. But those were the times I'm speaking of, not necessarily when my mother didn't pay me any attention or anything like that. I'm just saying that during the summer vacation times and when all the cousins and my brother and things, we all got together as one.
Okay, this is your brother from your dad's side. You had another brother?
Yes, my older brother. I'm 36. My brother's 38. I'll be 37 in November. So he's 38. We're getting old, pushing 40. But yes, my older brother on my father's side.
Oh, okay. Tell us a little bit about your brother and your communication with him.
Well, my brother, we were tight from childhood. We've always been tight up until maybe a few years ago. We had a disagreement. I'd like to put it a disagreement just about life and things that we experienced in our childhood. And and with that, I try not to. I try to keep confrontation down. You know, I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like to butt heads. I try to get along, and sometimes I'll ignore something if it's really bothering me just to keep the peace. So with that, I set that to the side. You know, it's for me and him to hopefully one day we can come together and figure out a game plan for our relationship so we can come back together as one.
That'll be great. That'll be great. So that's interesting. Let's just go back, a little bit and just tell about some of the bullying times that you had and what those bullying times where they were impactful to you.
And absolutely, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. You know, as I spoke earlier, I didn't want for anything. So whenever we went to the grocery store, I had to get a toy or whatever, you know. And back in early as show and tell days, that's when the bullying really started. There was no light shined on bullying and no one to really help the kids that were being bullied, you know. If from me being bullied, I remember I got suspended from being bullied. That's when things were a lot different. But as time progressed, things are getting a lot better. And just like for the reason as while we're here today, to shine light on different situations. So hopefully, if someone was in that same predicament, they could there's someone to let you know that, hey, I dealt with the same thing. You can seek help or come talk, whichever the case may be, to resolve it. But as early as third grade, fourth grade, I remember the kids would steal my toys, and whatever I brought for show and tell, it wouldn't come back home. I remember getting beat up by the entire class, my fourth grade class. I can't even tell you why they beat me up. That it was the last day of school, and on the last day of school, we used to plan something, and that was the plan, was to beat up Charles Cummins.
I
you
mean,
know?
I didn't know. I'm just like everyone to know, as a mom, you think you're going to know everything about your kids as they're growing up. But this is a conversation that's new to me. So some of these stories I've never had, with Charles. And it's so heartbreaking just to hear that he was beat up on the last day of school as a parent, so some things going to touch me a little harder. So you guys just be patient with me as he coming to, tell his story, because these stories, like many of us, don't know what our children has been through, and then they become adults, and you wonder why some things are in their lives that you thought you could be able to control, but you weren't. But Charles have, some things and very personal that he has gone through, and which is it's very hard for many of us, and many of us have been bullied as youngsters, and for in all of our lives, we hear those bully stories today, whether it be something as small as the teacher bullying you, or whether it be something as big as being the only student in a class, and being a Black American student going to school with all white students. There are many times that people have been bullied and mistreated. So we want to eliminate that, from all of our communities, because these are very impactful moments that children have, and it lasts forever for many of us. And I'm being one that can tell you about some stories. But today we're talking about Charles, so we're going to go back into his story, and we're going to move a little bit more into how he was able to cope during those times, because after being bullied and beat up, rather I should say, in fourth grade by a whole class, now you have the summer to go into, and also carry that along with you. So I'm sure there are many emotions that went on with Charles. So Charles, tell us a little bit more.
And yeah, there were a lot of different emotions. That's when I couldn't understand why kids would treat me certain ways. And I knew that something about me was special, something was different, but I just didn't know. I was still a child. And when you're young, you don't think about things like jealousy and envy and people being envious of what you have because they wanted it. You don't think about that. So with me being so young, I internalized things where I became a loner child. I was alone a lot. I remember my mother would, even times when I spent times with my father, he would tell me, go outside, please. He would beg me to go outside. He would pay me to go outside. He would hand me a rock and say, go break some windows, please. Do something that young boys are supposed to do. But even though that's a bit crazy, but I understood what he meant behind just please go outside, live your childhood, and be happy like young kids do. But I just was a loner again by myself. I chose to stay alone until I got a little bit older, and I started realizing, hey, I'm a cool kid just like the rest of these kids, and if not cooler. That's where I had to build up my self-confidence. And
Oh, I'm sorry, Charles. Charles, we had someone ask a question, and that question is, Charles, where was your brother? You mentioned that you had a brother and you were close to him. Where was he?
Oh, my older brother. Okay. We actually, at the age of 9 years old, we left St. Louis And we moved to Miami, Florida, and I feel like that was the beginning of my life. Those were the most memorable times of my life when we moved away from St. Louis. Everything that I had known to Miami, beautiful Miami, the beautiful blue water, palm trees, it was totally different, a totally different culture, new environment. And so with that move, I was split up from my brother, my family, my cousins, everyone, so I had to start fresh.
Okay, and this was a whole new atmosphere for you, whole new life. So you had to start everything new. So during that time, you moved there. It was summertime, and now you're going to be going to a new school, new
Right.
kids. These are different kids. You didn't have to revisit those bullies, some of those bullies that you had left behind. So now
Mhm.
this is a new school. So what is your experience when you moved to Florida?
It was a tough transition moving from St. Louis to Florida. Um, you would think now as an adult I'd do anything. Moving from St. Louis to Florida, that seems like an upgrade, a level up, really. And but as a child, all I could focus on is how much I missed everyone. So I really didn't embrace the change. On our way moving, my mother was pregnant with my little brother on my mother's side, obviously. But and the day after my little brother was born, my stepfather, which is my little brother's father, he went missing, and we later found months later that he was killed. And moving to a new place, a new surroundings, new school, new friends, um, and just knew everything. And missing a stepfather or a father figure in my life, it was a tough transition. It was hard. But as time went along, I knew that it was time for me to step up. I had to be there for not only my mother, but for my little brother, more importantly. And that's where yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Charles. So now, yeah, so as Charles said, I was pregnant. I was pregnant with his younger brother, Gregory, and Gregory is Charles' brother. I have two sons, Gregory and Charles. But your experiences, Charles, there, then after you began becoming a teenager more so, and after school, this relationship in the Florida schools. What were the differences in this? What was the difference in this school than the schools that you did attend in St. Louis?
Okay. Um, you know what? To this day, I can't tell you the main differences. I just knew that the focus was very different. The focus was not on things and material things and what do you have on, what kind of shoes you have on, different things like that. That's those are the main key features that stand out to me when I think back about it. Um, just the culture of things were very different in Florida. It was more, they were kids. We were kids, I felt like, again, instead of children thinking that they were grown and doing things that grown folks do, and I was not ahead of my time. I was not. I was definitely a child for way too long. But yes, I think mainly the culture was different as to just day in and day out and enjoying life and just having fun and being kids. That was the main focus. But versus here in St. Louis, it was things were a lot different.
Okay. And you visited St. Louis during the summer. So you were flown into St. Louis every year during the spring breaks, the Christmas holidays, things like that. Tell
Right.
us a bit about you when you were away from your mom and now you're with your dad and you're now living with your dad during the summers. And what were those experiences like? Was he there then in your life, or is it that you also had your cousins there as well and your brother? I should say your brother on your dad's side, your older brother.
Well, by that time, as a teenager, there weren't many times that I hung out with my cousins. We were still close, but we didn't go have sleepovers and things like that as much. So I did spend a lot of time with my father once when I did visit St. Louis up until I decided to move back to St. Louis for high school. So that was 4 years from freshman to senior year. I decided to move back to St. Louis with my father. And we did spend a lot of time together, a lot of quality time. We got to know one another, and I was coming into myself. I was becoming a young man, and starting to know what I like and know what I didn't like, and voice my opinion behind things as well. But to answer your question, yes, we did. My father and I, we had a close relationship. We spent a lot of time together, riding ATVs. That was our thing. Dirt bikes, and just spending time over the weekends together. During the week, it was pretty much a hustle and bustle thing. My father, he worked for Washington University. He retired from there, and also he ran his own business, heating and cooling business. So he was a busy man. So during the week, it was just me doing school. I had a couple of different jobs, McDonald's, Blockbuster, um, and I was just living my life.
Okay, so you were living your life pretty much almost just about independently, you should say. Or
Um,
was there someone that you were with during that time, because you now are getting into the side of living with your dad after now going into high school, because I just want to bring everyone up to date, because we full speed ahead. Charles had wanted to live with his dad, after living in South Florida. He did miss his family, and he loved his family, he loved his dad as well. And of course, his dad was the kind of dad that'll take you on all of these different excursions of fun. So of course, a young man would want to be with his dad over the summers. Those are things that he did as he was growing up. So now he has the chance to actually live that life with his dad, and what he believed was going to be, that great life, And so, as a mom, you think about things like that. As women, we have children, and we do have two sides. It's not all about us raising the child alone, but yet there are others that love him, and his dad is one of those first ones that is strongly in his life, and want to be in his life to raise him as a son. And it's fair. It was very fair to me that I also assured or made sure from my standpoint that my son would be safe. My son would be disciplined when needed to be disciplined, and to go on with life, so that I can be comfortable here living in South Florida too. As I say, I had another child, and also, I was now living as a single mom all over again, because I did lose someone during that time. So it was very hard on me, and the stresses that I had been going through as well, but still trying to accommodate my son's well-being, in which I felt, today I can say I did a great job, with my choices that I made in his life. And even so, sometimes you feel a little bit of guilt later on in life that you hear these experiences that would take place. You don't find out till they're actually grown, and they tell you everything, and you're just like holding your head in dismay. But I love Charles. That's my favorite boy. He does very
you
well,
bet
very
Greg your
kind
favorite.
and yeah, you're my favorite, Charles. I have two. Both of you are my favorite. I tell Greg
Yeah,
he's my favorite, and I tell Charles he's my favorite when I'm with him.
I know
So
how you do.
it's all in love. It's all in love. But just to continue to go on, just say to all of you moms that have are co-parenting, we just try to do the best for our children, and to share the life with the dads, because even though you have your feelings about some dads and things, if some people have ups and downs with the co-parenting, but I'm just saying, just be as strong as you can be for your child in the direction in which he needs to be raised. And he needed to have a father figure in his life, and which he did, but he also had another dad in his life. We had a bonus dad, which was great, and we lost them, but yet he still had his dad in his life that also deserves to be in his life as well. So Charles, tell us a little bit more about your life living with your dad. You know, now this is something that he has had very deep experiences with and coming into adulthood, because he's going from high school, and now Charles is living with his dad until he left his dad and was on his own. So Charles, tell us a little bit about that story, as you were, all the experiences that you had living there, your dad being married, you having a stepmom, and you also having on that side a younger sister, you know, as well as your younger brother you had on your mom's side. You also had a younger sister around the same age. And so just tell us about that household, because, you know, as co-parents, there are two sides, you know, of families that your children have. And as strong and powerful as we all should be, is to try to support that side as well. And that's something that, you know, even so, you know, things may not go in the way you try to push them to go, but yet you try to balance it as much as possible, so that your child will understand that I'm mom in this house, and he's dad in his house. You know, I can't run his house and he can't run mine. So those questions, you know, that many children have when they're getting in trouble and things like that, they run to that other parent and they want to tell that other parent all those stories. But yet, you know, my answers to Charles was, you know what, you're either going to live there or you're going to live here, you know. So, and I can't answer your dad's questions, and I can't run his household. So whatever his rules are, those are his rules. And that's how I raised Charles. So Charles had all the things that he was going through. He was going to go through over there with his dad. And I'm sure that he got through it. I know he got through it, you know, because I'm mom.
Here today.
I wasn't in there, but I was there. So Charles, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, like I mentioned earlier, my dad was a busy guy, so there was a lot of times where I did what I wanted. You know, I was pretty much a young adult. I wasn't grown yet, but I was a young adult, pretty much learning what I liked and what I didn't like. Then is when I realized that my parents weren't paying me much attention at the time. My mother was in Florida, over 1,000 miles away, and my dad was just might as well be 1,000 miles away, you know, even though sometimes it was in the same house. When I realized that they weren't paying attention, I knew what I was free to do and what I was free not to do, you know, or what I couldn't do. I did things when my dad didn't ask to see report cards. That's how I knew he wasn't paying attention, because I wasn't. Don't get me wrong. I'm an intelligent guy. I've always made performed well in school. I've been in things like that, but there were times where I would get some maybe a D here, maybe an F there. You know, every once in a while, and my mother didn't play about a report card. My mother knew when the report cards were coming out. She would be at home already when I walked in the door with her hand out. So I already knew to hand over the report card. When I knew that I didn't have to hand over a report card, I could just keep it quiet and just act like nothing happened and no one would say anything. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good then, you know? So when you have any child that's operating where the parent is not paying attention, of course you'll act up and find yourself in different things. But I started to find myself, and that's when I realized that I was a gay man, or a gay child, a gay young man, you know, and that led me to coming out of the closet. To first, I came out of the closet to my stepmother, and she told me that she had always had a feeling, and I didn't know if I should be offended by that at the time, but she always had a feeling, and I really took into her. She told me how it was between her and I, and I could be comfortable around her and speak my mind and speak my heart. And we kind of came up with a game plan as to how we would handle it. And all I remember is she told my dad during an argument, and my dad was upset with me, and it ended up getting out from my home to school, which is weird, um, to school. And I went from being one of the most popular guys in high school to not having any friends. And people that would literally spend a night at my house during the weekends to walk right past me like they didn't know me in the hallway. And it's still that way from most of the people that I graduated with. And to just have that, to deal with something like that it created an anxiety inside, and it could be a separation anxiety or an abandonment issue where I felt like I had all the friends in the world, and now the next day I didn't. And so I dealt with a lot of loss, I can say, and that pushed me into this corner where I was angry. I was angry. And my father put me through different counselings, and I'm telling you, I was in the church choir. I had counseling with the pastor, therapy counseling or therapy sessions, and it made me feel like something was wrong with me. So I grew up feeling like something wasn't right with me, but something was special about me. But I kind of used that, I twisted it around and turned it into something negative, something positive, something negative, turning it into something positive, where feeling like I didn't belong to just saying, no, I'm special. There's something special about me. So things like that helped me.
Yeah. Well, no, Charles, go on. I'm sorry, I may have distracted you a bit.
No, you're good. I thought you were throwing up a sign like 5 minutes. Cut it short. Cut it short.
Right. So no, I wasn't. I did want to kind of ask you a question. I want to go back a little bit, and I want to just share with people, and this is when you send your children away, and you have different adults now in their lives, which are step parents. Where children may have some questions, what have you, that need to come to the actual parent, that it doesn't reach the parent, and which are very sensitive moments that are needed, and for parents to know. Step parents, you have your secrets, with other people's children, which I feel, should have been shared, rather whichever direction it went in. The parents should know, the behaviors of their children, whether it be something that is detrimental to their health. So these are things that we don't keep to ourselves as adults. We're dealing with children. We must stay mindful that we're dealing with young adults, and they make decisions, and those decisions are also decisions that parents should know about, that we can have our communications with them. Charles he did come out, around age 17. And when I found out, it was shocking to me as a parent. Have a young boy, you have a young daughter, or whatever it may be, and they come out, and their sexuality is different from yours, so therefore it is a shock to many of us, to have a gay child at the times back then, when gay was really something that was hidden and not spoken about. Many people that found out that their children were in the closet. That's where the closet came from the beginning, to keep it a secret and hide it, and not tell anyone what's going on with your child. And to me, just being a parent of a gay son, I had to embrace it, as it was out there. He said he was gay. There was nothing else more that I could change, as a parent. Was it shocking to me? Yes. Is it disappointing? Yes, it is at the same, because I was raised with a mother and father, and the way they taught us. I had never had any gays that I understood around me, so it was shocking. But also, I did from his dad's side was introduced to, gay, in real life. I should say it like that because,
Yeah.
and it was scary to me. I was scared. I was scared. I was afraid. I was afraid of her. I didn't know, to how to see, that life. So with when Charles came about, it was totally different, for me. And I just want to, continue to share that, many of us, we have these experiences in our lives. And now today, gay and homosexuality, LGBTQ, the community right now is more acceptable and understood. And I wish that many are now learn about or come closer to your family members and friends. But we're going to be going on a short break, and I hate to just cut everyone off, but we'll be back and we'll start again and we'll continue where we left off. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining in with Smart Black Woman TV. I'm Vernita Williams, your host.
Be stick around. Stick around.
No. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming back and joining in Smart Black Woman TV. I'm your host, Vernita Williams. We have our guest here, Charles Cummings. And if you weren't with us before, we were speaking about him coming out as a gay young man. And we don't want to elaborate as much on it because, today is not gay pride. This is not gay pride, but we're on
It is somewhere.
We're right now on Charles's life. So let's get back to Charles's life. And then as you heard, as I was trying to just explain to many parents, how we communicate with one another, just co-parenting. There are two moms and two dads at that point. Just hoping many families start to get along and be able to communicate.
I had too many parents. Too many.
Family. Yes, Charles.
You're right. I had too many parents. I said four.
Right, he had the four. Then he had aunts and uncles, and they were like
four whoopings. That meant four whoopings.
Yeah. So Charles, let's go back. So we did speak about, you being gay at that point and the challenges that you were going through being gay, in the home of your dad. Just to kind of tell us a little bit more about that and how you got past it and what changes you made in your life. Because right now you've come out as a different person and you are introducing to the family and the world, this is truly who I am. So now, how were you able to cope with life going forward?
Honestly, it was not a healthy way of coping. It wasn't. It was, of course, I went to church but I really didn't seek God. So I had a lot of anger inside, and it forced me to just be angry and push people away. I knew that I had a mouth on me, so I would just say hurtful things, and I knew that that would keep people away. I felt like I had to hurt someone else's feelings before they would try to hurt mine, and that was the way I coped with things, and I felt protected, because my father, he wasn't any support with my homosexuality. My father actually pushed me out. He actually put me out for being gay. I remember I came home from school, all of my things were packed in trash bags, and he gave me $20 and told me to leave. And so I had to quickly find someone to call to come pick me up. A good friend of mine, my best friend, actually picked me up, and I stayed with her for a couple of weeks. And another friend of mine for 3 months. Actually, I hid in his room while his parents were around, and I was able to somewhat live that way and make it to school and do all the things because I was still in school. Um, I barely even graduated because my father had put me out. I was still a child. So those things I had to kind of learn how to fend for myself. And yeah, so I really didn't get a chance to deal with it up until my adult age. I knew that there were some things about me that were just, they didn't sit right, and it wasn't a healthy feeling. So I had to build myself up, my confidence within myself, and tell myself that, okay, you are normal, nothing's wrong with you. Whoever don't get you, to kind of just forget them. And that was the kind of mentality that I had.
So you mean to tell me so with your family, how did your other family members treat you? What was your communication with your cousins, and things like that? Did you at that point did you take the communication that you got only with your father and you made that choice, or what other communication did you have with your mom? Um what I know that was very hard for me as well. You had communication with me, and what was your communication, there, and your choices that you actually made? Because you did have your mom that was in Florida, then you had your dad there that was taking it very hard, or deciding to be a certain way with you, going in that direction. So tell us a little bit more about the communication at home, with your family members, and the therapy that you got. What type of therapy did you receive? The church therapy, or is that the
Okay.
counseling you got at the time?
Okay. How did I? Okay. To answer one of the questions, the therapy that I received, it was church therapy from a pastor. So the main thing was either change or you're going to hell, and that was what I received. Um, I grew up in church. My family grew up in church. So I was walking around like I was going to hell, really. And my father, before he put me out, he told me that I would die from AIDS. So he went and bought a new life insurance policy. And that was when I told him, this is me. I can't change. I don't know how to change. This is just who I am. This is not a choice that I'm making. Even though I tried to please my father, my family, and the ones that weren't too proud of my decision or me coming out. But yeah, it was a pretty traumatic experience, I think back about it, think about it, you know. Um, Nothing about it was healthy. I really didn't look to learn anything from anyone that didn't know my walk of life, you know. So it pushed me to um, seek, I guess, acceptance from people in the streets, the gay community in St. Louis, and that came with a lot of different things as well. Um, but I felt more comfortable with strangers versus my family because I felt like they understood me and knew that, hey, it wasn't a decision. And if I could choose, I would choose an easier life, which is being whatever my parents and family wanted me to be, you know? But I knew at that point in time that life is not, it wasn't going to be as easy as I had always thought it would be. And so what I was missing from my father, I started seeking that in a partner. Um, so I was this young 17-year-old child, dating 40-year-old guys and 50-year-old guys. And when I think about it now, I'm like, me at the age of 36, there's nothing in a 16, 17-year-old that I would find attractive at all, you know? So when I think back about it, I was in situations that I didn't even realize that I was in, somewhat that was harming me, not only physically, but mentally. So today I try not to hold on to those things, and I try to use all of those experience to build myself up to be a stronger young man and hopefully get this out to other people that it may help, that may be in a similar situation, because I know that a lot of times in the gay community, we don't have anyone to run to, you know, and sometimes your kids may run out to the street and seek help in the streets. And I think it's important to listen to your kids and just try to understand whatever they're going through, even though you may not have went through it or experienced it. But it's important that you just listen and try to understand, because what you don't want is for someone else to raise your child.
Well, we have a question, and someone is asking, as a parent, what was my initial feelings and thoughts? Well, as a parent, your first initial feelings of having a gay child is very hurtful, because if you have a male son, you look for that daughter-in-law and those children that are going to come with it. And at that time, there was no adoption in mind, where people thought that gays would adopt children. You just thought that life of having your son having a family was not going to be there, And as a mom, I only had two sons, and it was very hurtful for me. I did have many thoughts of my son being harmed in the streets, or violated in a way that he would be killed, which was a very scary time for me. Very nervous. I went through a lot of stressful challenges and during that time. But I did. Thank God I had a friend, and he was also a gay male. And it came to me probably a week after I had talked to him about it. Something came over me and said, that this friend of yours, that you love this guy, you love this guy, and that guy was a gay male. And I said, how can you love a person that's gay, and when your son comes to say he's gay, you're not love him even more, which I did not love him. It was just that scary time for me. I didn't know how to embrace it, to him. I did tell him, even when he said to me that he was gay, I love you. It doesn't matter what way you will be, I'm still going to be your mom that love you. And for me to be able to accept his life, I guess the turning point of that was my friend that I had to come to reality that, shoot, forget people. I love him. I don't care who's who and what's what, and I love my child. And from that day, I wanted him to understand
Uh-oh.
I'm
There you
sorry.
go.
You know, a phone call came in and kicked me out. I don't know if I came off the screen, but I wanted him to know how much I loved him, and I loved him so much, and I support him in all his decisions of what he made in his life. And still today, everything and just all the decisions that he make, you know, there may be some downfalls of a decision that he's made, which I didn't understand, but I was truly captured by many times of experiences that Charles did go through in life. And as young men, they do go through challenges. Young people, period, their peers and things around them. And sometimes it's in your family. The reason why you make choices, you know, choices that he didn't have to make, but yet he made those choices for himself. And he dealt with those choices. Some of them were detrimental to him, but he's now, as you see him, looking good, sounding good. Thank the Lord, you know. So,
So I think the main thing, the key takeaway can be, um, parents can learn things from their children also. So it's
yeah,
not always just the parent to teach the child, and that the child doesn't know anything.
yeah,
If you feel that way, try playing. Are you smarter than the fifth grader? And that'll tell you how you can definitely learn things from your kids.
yes. Yeah, so the story's not about me. So I'm going to go back to Charles. And Charles, we're just going to go back into what you did. So you did talk about the challenges that you had, you know, just coming in to being a gay man and experiences that you went out in the world, a new world for yourself of people that you found that were loving you. And so therefore you're going to love them back in the same. So during that journey, you know, how you start to be able to understand how you had to take care of yourself and things like
Mm,
that, you know, where did that play into what you were choosing to do? You know, you have to now feed yourself, you got to take care of
right.
yourself, you have to maintain. So what did you do during that experience to get you through life?
Okay. Well, I was set up for success, especially from my mother. My mother didn't get an opportunity to send me off to college and things like that, but she did send me off owning my own business, you know, and getting started with my own business. She displayed that to me my entire life growing up. And my father had been a business owner as well. So when I did seek a person or a partner, I made sure that they had things going for themselves. There was something that I would be able to learn from them. And I picked up on someone who had a construction company, and I went to Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, and I had an eye for design, and we decided to collaborate, and we started making a lot of money. You know, he was the contractor, the construction part of it, and I was the design part of it. So I knew that I would be able to hold on to that and continue my life and prosper in that particular business. Even though I have other things that I like to do now, that's something that I can always go back to if I'm ever in a bad situation. You know, so I knew that I wanted to learn. I just was a sponge and just ready to absorb as much knowledge as I could to make sure that I was successful.
Okay, and you did. You accomplished that. So when you did go through that challenge, and I guess you were in construction at some point, and then you decided you wanted to move back to South Florida because is that the time you were in Atlanta when you were in construction there? Okay,
Right.
so then you moved back to South Florida, and then during your move back to South Florida, things kind of changed for you in a light that you're living close, you know, to your mom. You now around her again. You have to get, you know, your own place. You wanted your own place because when Charles moved to South Florida, of course, he moved in his own place, and took care of himself. He started in construction on a construction site, one that I had worked on for quite some time. So they hired Charles as a laborer during that time. and a lot more of his construction skills did come about. And he was there probably about shy of 6 months to 9 months, and Charles was back
Yeah.
on the road to success. So Charles had a lot of changes that happened in his life too. So you going back out there. So tell us a little bit about that as you started off again, I guess, in your business. I guess you kind of connected with some people where you started your own business, and you started also to help a lot of people that were going through some challenges. And I think some of these challenges were more heartfelt to you. You know, tell us
Mhm.
about that and how you came into your new, a different, I guess,
Business venture.
independent.
It was a business venture.
Yeah,
Um,
new adventure.
so I had been working for a company in a call center for about 5 years until I decided that it was time for me to grow. And a good friend of mine had an opportunity from her father that he wanted to recruit me and have me run the South Florida region of their business. And so I went out to Arizona and I trained for about 6 months with them, and they gave me a good taste of the life and of success. Um, they gave me the credit cards. I stayed in the mansion with and drove the nice cars, and they really sold the business to me.
These
And
were friends from St. Louis. These were
right,
friends of yours from St. Louis.
yes, it was my best friend here in St. Louis, and her father um, ran his own business, and we had visited throughout the years and just hung out with our dad. And so I knew that he was very successful, and he grew to love me, and I loved him. So that's why I felt as though that's why he offered me an opportunity with their company to grow and make money. But
Okay.
when I jumped on board, I went again. I went and trained in Arizona for about 6 months. I finally get back to Florida, and they started sending me my own employees. And by that time, I had a brand new office. They bought me a brand new car, company vehicle, but it was my vehicle. Um, Brand new office, brand new car, a new place, and a new life, which is what I thought I had. I thought I had made it. And they started sending employees that already knew the business that previously worked for them. And as they would send people, I realized that a few of these people they were a little off. A few had addictions. Well, every single one had an addiction. And after it took me a while to realize, okay, y'all have sent me 6 people so far, and they have strong addictions on heroin, methamphetamine, all different kinds of hard drug addictions that I had no experience with at all. I had done no drugs prior, and but throughout that time, I housed a lot of the employees that they would send me. So I started a group home for them where I picked them up. Um, I would pick them up for work every day, drop them off, made sure they had decent clothes to wear to work every day. I made sure they had food to eat and just made sure things were in line. So my main goal was to show them how to live a normal life without drugs. And it was very hard for someone that had no experience on drugs to teach someone that was in the middle of or the peak of their addiction that. So it was very tough. And I ended up losing my relationship because it was just too much. It was a lot on the relationship where I was spending so much of my time just to keep them out of trouble. And these people were my age, some older than me. So it was hard to tell a grown person not to do drugs. It was very tough. And I ended up getting involved with them too close, and it was no longer a boss employee relationship. It was a friendship at that point. And I felt like I had walked through the trenches with them, you know, so I was connected with them. I was tied to them. There was a bond that we built. And we had ended up getting in a car accident, and it was a bad car accident. And from that car accident, I ended up having to get minor surgeries on my back, which led to me using them prescribing me things like the opiates. I was prescribed opiates. I didn't really understand the importance or anything about opiates. I'd never done them. I'm just like, oh, okay, painkillers. Okay, I've heard of painkillers. But initially, I didn't take them. I was like, well, I'm not in much pain until later on I started feeling it. So I became dependent on those prescription drugs, which were oxycodone, and I was going to therapy, and this continued on for maybe about 4 or 5 months. And by that time, I had realized that, okay, they're not giving me any more prescriptions for this drug, and my body is sick. So I felt like I needed to keep going. And one of the guys that one of my employees was addicted to heroin, and I had no idea, but he was able to give me different pills to make me feel better until one day he brought heroin home, and I had no idea. And he's just like, "Yeah, you can try this, and it'll make you feel better. I promise, you know." And all I had known was I was sick, throwing up, and I didn't know what to do. I was sweating. I'm like, "What do I do?" You know? And he seemed to have had all the experience at this, so I listened to him, and um, I sniffed it, and I didn't know that that would be the next 3 years of my life doing that same thing. And I ended up with a full blown addiction that I, I just tried to fight my way through. And good thing I was there in Florida with my mother. She tried and to do everything she could, you know, as a mother, watching her child just deplete not only his not deplete myself financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, just in every single way possible. And I just to this day I can't imagine how my mother felt watching me go through that, you know.
Yeah, it's very hard, you know, it's a tough time, you know, for many people that are challenging drug addiction today, you know, and I can thank God that I was his cover. You know, I was able to speak to him, you know, the way he understood all of my communications. God gave me the words to speak to him. God gave me the prayers and those prayers of healing. And today Charles is has been clean. And
Two
this again,
years and counting. 2 years
that
and
it
counting.
was 2 years, and I know he said three, but it was two. It was 2 years.
It's
Thank
two.
God.
It's just 2 years, and honestly, it feels like it was just yesterday, you know. But when you know you're walking away from something, and you know you don't want to look back, you don't even second guess. You don't second guess it. You know that you were meant to walk away from something, and you just keep going, and you don't. And I really don't count the time. I look sometimes. I look back like, dang, has it been 2 years already? And yeah, and it has been, and still going strong, still not looking back, and still just pushing. You know, that's all I can do is push.
That's right. And we can thank God, you know.
Yes,
Thank
and thank
God.
God, mainly thank God.
Yes. And speaking of thanking God and what Charles has gone through in his life, and this is one of the challenges that he had gone through. We're going to have a part two. You know, Charles is going to tell a little bit more about how he can help others, and we can share with others their stories of the addiction in which they may have gotten caught up in.
Thank you. I
We
appreciate
want
that.
to,
Thank you.
thank everyone for joining us on Smart Black Woman TV. We're ending Health Awareness Month with Charles' story. I hope that many of you reach out to us and maybe we can help you with your stories, because everyone has one and some of us would like to tell them. And this is where we tell all of our stories. And this is my purpose, to help others to strengthen themselves in their lives and understanding, to try to bond families much better in the Black communities, and also co-parenting, very important, that each one of us help to raise the children, because our children still need our protection. And our prayers go out to all the people who have lost lives, and mainly the ones in Texas right now. Our prayers, we send them out to you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. There will be a part 2. We will post the time in which part 2 will begin. It's more about Charles' life. It's lives that every one of us experience, and we don't want to have shame, but we want to speak out to help others. Thank you very much. And Charles, is there something you might want to say to close?
Yes. And I only share because I hope to reach someone that may be going through something similar, and whether it's addiction, whether it's being sexually abused, these are things that I have experienced at overcoming in my life. So if you have went through something like that, don't hesitate to reach out to me. My inbox is open. I'll read my messages. Just reach out to me and just give me an idea as to what you may be dealing with. You don't have to tell me everything. You don't have to even get on here. You can just let me know, and I can hopefully I can give you some encouragement. And remember to just keep God first. Stay focused on God. As long as you seek God in everything you do, you'll be just fine. You'll come out ahead. You'll come out strong.
Again, thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Memorial Day celebrations. Thank you on Smart Black Woman TV. We're on NPNTv. Thanks. Have fun. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
This program was made possible by Neighborhood Planet Broadcasting Systems, Neighborhood Planet Network, and from contributions to NPNTv from viewers like you.